today we have Captain Abhishek Sinha, who is founder of Insta Charter, something very unique, very distinctive, a startup in the aviation sector. I would like to understand how he's started this business and what is the idea behind it and how it's progressing. So, welcome, Captain Abhishek
Thank
at
you.
Connect.
Thank you very much.
So how do I call a captain, or you call a Abhishek, call you Abhishek Sinha? How do you like people to address you?
Just call me Abhishek.
Great. So I think captain looks good. Let's call it Captain Abhishek. So Captain Abhishek, let me understand. Chartered is the aviation per se is always looked at a luxury, though now it is a lot of middle income group people, or maybe a lot of people. There's been expanded. The market is expanded in aviation, but it's still considered as a luxury. Aviation, you're looking at a chartered, which is like ultra luxury. Now, what made you to start a tech organization to enable people look for chartered?
Uh, I'm I retired from the Air Force after 25 years of service, and thereafter I joined the civil private charter industry as a pilot. And then the way things were running in this industry, I really felt that they need a serious tech enablement. You see, if any industry needs to grow, it has to remain contemporary in how it does its work and how the processes are performed, how things happen, which I generally found was at least 30 years behind, at least in India. Then I started exploring, and I had some interest in coding. I do it myself also, a lot of it. So,
Mhm.
and then I explored this. Is there any better way to do things? And then I arrived at this that we need to do this because the market potential is huge, and but there are not many services which are on offer. The ones which are on offer were far too expensive for small operators to participate, and therefore the market gets very, very restricted. So, and that's how I started InstaCharter with the aim of uh, tech enablement of the industry, the complete industry.
So, Captain Abhishek, who is your target audience? Because I'll give you an example where I'm coming from. I was talking to one gentleman, and he was keen to do fly out around 800 people of his company to for an event, and then he was saying I was looking for, can I do booking for one or two people on a normal airline, or can I get an entire airline charter the entire aircraft for two or three of them from two different locations so that everybody is coming in the same time, but we don't know how to go about it.
Exactly. So, as far as the retail end customer is concerned, now let's understand why he doesn't know where to look for it. So, let's take an example. Let's say I want to look for a, let me give you a very, very simplistic example. Let's say I want to look for a cab. If you just go and search for cab, you'll find so many people offering their services in your locality, which are geographically close to you, or you can choose a marketplace like Uber or Ola or something like that. In this industry, it is not there. So if you look for air charter service, you'll land up with some websites of the operators, but they really don't have a booking engine. You cannot find aeroplanes there. You don't have the schedules there. Actually, now you get into a very long loop where you'll make a request to them, then they will get back to you after checking everything is okay, not okay, can they do it or not do it, do they have the necessary approval from the owner or not. So this is what makes it so difficult for anyone who wants to charter an aircraft. So our target audience is not really the end customer. We are starting to create the fundamental infrastructure which is required for the operators and brokers to provide this service in a very customer friendly manner to their end clients. That is what I mean when I say tech enablement. You cannot offer a service to the end client unless you have the ready inventory with you, right? You cannot offer it to them unless you have a very good pricing engine that is working already on your back end. So I just need to drop on your website. I just need to search. Should get some options. I should be able to book there. But that cannot happen because the variables are too many, and the technologies which are already employed in this sector in scheduled airline and all, they are too expensive for a small scale business who's just having a one or two aircraft or something. So there is the gap. That is the gap that needs to be fulfilled. And yes, our ultimate aim is that ultimately the end client should be able to book a charter based on real time availability and on a click of a button. That's what ultimate aim is. But right now, it is not possible because the fundamental infrastructure is not there.
Okay.
So
So,
there
understood.
is the problem is.
So have you started? Is it operational now or and available in which other geographies currently?
Yes, so we have our customers in Europe, we have our customers in US, we have some customers in South America, and we have developed a special product now for India because India requirements are very different for the operators, very different for the operators. So we have developed a specific product for the Indian operators as well. But our products are being used by the brokers and operators world over right now.
When you say operators, are basically chartered operators,
Yes, I mean the person who operates the aeroplane.
person who operates the airplane.
Yeah,
Uh, so
you
end
can call it.
it is
You
not
can
yet
call
ready
it.
for the end user.
You can call it the airline.
So it is not yet ready for the end user as of now. If I can may understand this.
So for the end user, we made an effort a year back. That didn't really work out because the number of people who want to book this directly with the operators are numbers are less. Plus, we didn't have the necessary infrastructure to offer it uh, uh, a booking platform. So right now, what we are offering is a search platform where you can search for the right aircraft, but still you need to send it the request and you will get a reply back. There is a lot of chain of activities which are involved there. Now, in our view, that won't work for an end traveler. What would work for an end traveler is something like a Uber or a Ola booking. But we don't really have the necessary infrastructure as of now. We have created the infrastructure, and but its adoption will take little time. It will take some time before we have that kind of numbers. Uh,
I understand. I understand. I think
uh,
chartered is again in India or maybe globally. It is not something okay off the cuff. Okay, I will take a charter tomorrow or day after. Usually, people plan to take a charter for some occasion or some specific instant or event. May let me know if I'm wrong in that.
you might just be surprised. The number of inquiries that are made for charters in the next 72 hours is very high.
Okay.
So for group charters, for larger numbers, for events, for sports team to travel, that that has a fair amount of lead time available. But like you see, when we and it has got different geographical implications as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you say in India, charter, uh, you would relate it with a status symbol and things like that.
Absolutely.
In many cases in Europe and US, it's just a necessity of work.
Okay.
Okay. And then you have the smaller planes, shorter distance planes, the popular ones. Let's say talk about Delhi to Chandigarh, right? Now, Delhi to Chandigarh, whether you go by a jet or a small, slower propeller aircraft, the timing difference will be in less than 10 minutes. The difference
Absolutely.
between the two, right? But the so in Europe and US, because of the smaller airports which are available, and they give a different advantage to the client. So many normal people, they travel by charter, and if you have a empty leg and it is coming at a price, let's say if I buy an air ticket, it's going to cost me, $2,000. Let's say I buy a ticket, it's going to cost me 250, $300 or 300 euros. If I travel in a shared charter, that's going to cost me 700, 800. So in many cases, it makes absolute sense for not without attaching luxury to it. People
Absolutely. No, the shared chartered is something which, as a business, is doing pretty good in the US market, the evolved market, I can say.
Yes, because they have built it up like this, and they do have. But for shared charter, again, as I said, I need confirmed inventory, right? Then only I can book it.
Yes.
So there is the bottleneck right now where we want to place our thrust on. That how do we have the necessary fundamental infrastructure to get the correct inventory available, number of seats or from place A to place B, any empty legs and do the pricing dynamically. So that is the area we are working on right now.
So, Captain Abhishek, how large is your team, and how do you? Because one of the key challenges when you start a business is building a team. So, if you
Yeah.
can just give us some idea, how you started. You said you have done a little bit of coding, but a pilot doing coding is not his job. So, maybe you can give the right kind of direction to what is the coding required. So, just give us an idea how you able to build your team, and what are the challenges, or how you overcome these challenges. Something which our viewers would be interested to understand.
So we have a very small team. We are less than 10 people who are permanent. And then we have a back-end team which is remote, who works on the technical, on coding and things like that. So the tech team, they work from remote locations, and many of them are not full-time, they're part-time. What we have people from the travel agency who have been into this business earlier. So we have a dedicated digital marketing team, a small one, but we do have, and we have a sales and marketing, and then we have this remote tech. And our biggest challenge is we are night owls. Our customers, most of our meetings, many times they happen wee hours in the night, and our back end tech work also, because people are working from remote locations, that happens at night. So that's one of the challenge. But mm, now as we gain more traction, we have continuously worked to improve our product over the past 1 year.
Mhm.
And now as we grow, then we'll have to look into expanding our team. But as of now, we are a very small team of under 10 people. The biggest challenge that we face actually is in terms of financial regulations. You see, if I collect a payment from someone in Europe, I can get it here. I cannot collect a payment from Europe, pay to someone else in Europe through an India account.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I
So
understand.
when we talk about Uberization, we should be able to process, and that is where the one of the bottlenecks lies right now. That if we were to do it like a complete booking engine, right? Then I have to collect payment from some country, remit it to some other country, but the payment needs to be processed from here. That's not
That's the
possible.
challenge. That's the challenge because the regulatory and compliances
As
on.
as far as far as finances go.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of challenges right now. The regulatory and compliances are something which is
Yes.
not yet smooth for a inter continental or intercountry transfers.
Exactly. I don't think we have given it a thought because as of now in India, we are primarily concentrating on either domestic consumption, which means that you produce in India, consume in India, or you produce in India and you export. We
Mhm.
are not yet geared up. I don't think we have the necessary minds working on it, probably because the scale is so small that you import the material, it could be anything, process it here, and then export it back again at a small scale. Because I cannot really go and have to do this only go to an SEZ, open an entity there. That will make us uncompetitive because this is very simple in Europe.
Mhm.
This is very simple in Europe. This is very simple in US. But that is where I think that is one of our major at a macro level when we talk about a final where we want to reach. That is one of the roadblocks.
Yeah, I think the SSZ option is good, and with the gift city coming up in Gujarat, which has come up, that's an area where which can definitely help if you can get yourself registered there. I think that may resolve some of the pain points of fund transfers, multi-country or
Yeah.
multi-dimensional fund transfers. That's something can be looked at.
So what I'm saying is, like you brought out the first example of a person looking to book a charter, right? It may not necessarily be that he wants to book in India only. Let's say he has a travel in
Absolutely.
Europe. Now, if he wants to book a travel in Europe through us, through our platform, then it's a challenge. Not We have almost managed all the infrastructural issues, technology backend which is required. It's only a matter of adoption by different operators when they start using it. So we'll have the live inventory and all. But major problem will come in processing of
No, I
payments.
think that should not be a problem if you can get the regulatory approval and have that can connect with the tech and with SEZ, as you said, or a gift city that has the provision of
Yeah,
a seamless financial transaction.
that kind of thing.
So how do you think the market is evolving? I'm sure you have done some your
In
uh,
India,
research, India and globally.
see, our India market is less than 2%. India has just about 120 odd aircraft. As far as charter flying, as far as aircraft that are offered for charter business as such are concerned.
Hmm.
Globally, there are more than 15,000 aircraft,
Okay.
a chunk of them in the US. And for sure, this is growing certainly. This is growing certainly. I don't know to what extent, because eventually in Europe, environmental concerns and all is gonna, they are a concern.
Yeah, yeah, they're going to play a big role in terms of using
Yes.
kind of
Yeah. So, like France has banned charter flights for small distances. If a
huh.
if a train is available, if this is available, you can't do a charter. So, it's a very, very a niche product. As how I see where it will head is people who have very, very specific requirements. So let's take an example that you have a company headquarters in Jaipur. You have a manufacturing plant somewhere in Chhattisgarh. You need to send your team, your management team visits, things like that very often, frequently. So you will require some this kind of solution because that is going to save you time for your management. For the higher leadership, time is important, right? So we have clients who do 5 trips. They cover 5 places in a single day meeting people.
No, I can understand. Just want to understand. There is a concept of a shared airtime or something which is coming in India for last maybe 6 months or 1 year. Where say, okay, there are 10 people or 15 people, they all pull money, or there's a consortium to buy a aircraft and they can use it as an utilities.
Yeah.
Do you think that will become will be a competition to the kind of service you are providing? or it's something which is help you to get one more additional aircraft available for chartered?
So now we are primarily a tech company. We
Mm.
don't own assets. We don't. But I'll tell you where do I see this going in India. It's called fractional ownership.
Yeah, yeah.
It means you can claim a small portion of the aircraft, and then for accounting purposes, you can use the depreciation and all individually as a percentage of that. Okay. That's how this concept came in the US of the fractional ownership. Now, if you and I were to form a company today and we bought an aircraft, the aircraft is on the asset list of the company. Whatever depreciation and all is there can be enjoyed by the company. But if we were two different companies, we want to utilize it separately within our own financial system, that's not possible. So in this fractional ownership, how it helps is there are a couple of people who come together and they own a part of the aircraft. And they necessarily need not be an operator. They have a part ownership of the asset. So that's
Okay.
how it helps. Now, in India, there has been a lot of thrust given on this, saying that this is gonna really help the industry because we have now more than 200 billionaires, ultra high net worth individuals. We are number 3 in the world, and therefore this is gonna help. Let me give you my assessment of how it works globally. The best performing companies, the best performing operators who have a huge fleet of 700 800 aircraft. So the market leader in this fractional ownership thing is a US company called the NetJets. So essentially there are 4 people who buy a stake in an aircraft and they use that aircraft based on their requirements. One aircraft cannot meet requirement of 3 people. 3 aircraft can meet requirement of 9 people. So it's all about scale. This is all about scale. So there are 2 models that work in this. One is the fractional ownership where you own the part of the
Mm.
aircraft and therefore you will have to share the liabilities as well, which means the cost, the maintenance cost, and those things like that. The second is you don't own the asset, you buy block hours, which means that I am an operator and you have bought 50 odd hours from me for the year at this particular rate. It absolves you of all your risk.
Mm-hmm.
So in
That's a
in
time share model.
yeah, so in the fractional ownership, the risk still stays with you. The
Mm.
risk is there with the owner. Whereas when you buy block hours or a jet card and things like that, complete risk is taken away from the owner. So as far as fractional ownership goes in the US, because the scale is so large, now NetJets is 800 plus aircraft, 800 plus aircraft single operator. They're their own. That's the scale of it. We are talking that it's bigger than airline.
Yeah, yeah, I understand.
Okay, but there are other companies like VistaJet, FlexJet. Okay, then there is ExoJet, which they are performing very well if you ask me, because we monitor how much they are flying and all that.
Mhm.
They are doing really well, and they are working on the hours business where they take the risk away from the owner.
Ownership.
But now in this, the issue is where do you get the funding from? In fractional ownership, it is very clear. The person who owns the fraction will fund the project. Whereas, let's say if I wanted to buy, 10 aircraft today and offer people jet cards or something like that, no bank is going to give me a loan. No bank will give me a loan.
Absolutely.
Plus, most of these, the smaller aeroplanes, still about the mid-size category, are not available for lease. You have to buy them. They're not available for lease, the smaller category. The bigger
Okay.
category definitely is available for lease. But then is there a market for that size? I mean, who's going to travel 3,000 miles every day? You're not going to do that. We are talking about, under 1,000 miles or 1,200, let's say from Srinagar to Kanyakumari, we are talking about, about 1,500 miles, 1,300 miles, distances like that. And a team, a group size of 5 6, a small business team or a small family or something like that. So you got to buy that aircraft, but you don't get, it's difficult to get funding for that. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
fractional ownership, the only reason why it is so it sounds so optimistic, because funding is not an issue. But in the long term, if you see, the risk of the owner is there. Uh, in India also, there are a couple of companies who are offering, who sell hour miles. They're doing pretty well, vis-a-vis the ones who have been working on this fractional ownership by some different route and things like that.
Understood. Understood.
So all the companies that are on the fractional ownership pattern, okay, their assets are very old. They're not, yeah, you see, uh,
This factor is very high. The safety measures will be again challenging.
no, what happens is as the aircraft ages, the cost of ownership keeps increasing, because the spare cost will increase, the maintenance costs are going to increase, the training costs are going to increase. So these are the challenges that happen. And therefore, who are companies that are completely managing their aircraft, they have got the sourcing for that, and they're just selling you hours. They tend to do much better, in my view, because they are not one. It's easy for them to get the client, because they're not transferring any risk to him. It's a buy thing for the customer. It's not an investment. In a fractional ownership, the client will look at it as an investment. Whereas if I were to buy hours, it's just like buying a ticket, airline ticket. The mindset is very different in the two. So these
Understood.
both models are there. India, there were certain regulatory changes which were required. There's a good work going on that. So probably that's going to come through. How much effect ultimately it will have on the industry as such, it is too premature to comment on that.
Understood. So before we end, Captain Abhishek, let me ask you a question about what's happening in the current aviation sector in India with Vistara and Air India getting merged. And it's up to you whether you want to answer this or not. Whether they're trying to integrate the entire operation and the current challenges. Just give your views, and then we can close this discussion.
Uh, Regarding the Vistara, Air India, whatever keeps going on,
Yeah.
you see, it's a huge merger. It's a huge task, if you ask me. Two separate entities who have been working under different guidelines in different cultures. Now, this is bound to happen for first 5 years, if you ask me. It's too huge a size. But after that, it's going to all settle down. It's going to all settle down. But you want to understand on the kind of issues they keep landing up into, on the fines and things like that.
Yes.
You see, that's more of a cultural uh, change, that they have to find their path through. You see, regulatory mechanisms. Aviation is a very heavily regulated sector,
Yeah.
right? And that's what makes things difficult. So, in fact, we also make products for business aviation that help them not get into those situations. You know, so we have planning. We have a software that you can plan things. It'll tell you whether it's a go or a no go, what is not, what is missing here. This aircraft does not have this pilot does not have this, he doesn't meet this requirement, things like that. But I think it's gonna settle down. Eventually the Air India, it'll settle down. It'll take time, in my view, 5 years. So we are two already down, uh, about two, I think, right? It'll take another 3 years for them to complete the thing, and then it will be fine. But still, in the long-term strategy view, I don't think there's anyone who can come close to Indigo.
So they have the vision clear, so there's no second thought.
Yeah.
Until unless you have other competition who comes with a totally different mindset, uh,
They
that
are very,
will be captured.
yeah, they have a
Great,
very,
great. So, Captain Abhishek, nice talking to you to understand something new in this particular, in the absolutely new industry as such, and total niche. And I'm sure in over a period of time, when the number of billionaires of India goes up, your business, the potential of Indian from India will also go up. Thank you very much for giving your time and discussing with us. Thank you.
thank you. My pleasure. And I hope I was able to answer.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
Great.
All right.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you so much for this.